Hello everybody, it's great to see such a crowd here on a sunny Wednesday evening in April when we should be out doing, and we could be out doing other stuff. There's an expression I'm sure most of you are familiar with: you can bring a horse to water but you can't make them drink. This is a voluntary deal. You're obviously here, you're not getting paid to get here. You're not paying to be here either, by the way, thank you John. But you're here because you want to do something different. That's what's bringing us all together here. So let me try and put some historical context in this from my perspective. So most of us here were around in Ireland in the 80s, right? Remember what it was like? Pretty grim, right? Coming out of college, no jobs, immigration was rampant, the country was on its knees, we were almost in the IMF stage. I think we avoided it that time, which we didn't this time around. But so that was the scoop. And 1989. A little-known company decided to come and invest a few bob in Ireland. That was Intel. So Intel set up in a garage in Palmerstown. A year later, bought the site that we're currently in and started building stuff. I joined the company in 1991, and I remember that as I was joining the company, as part of the interview process, I was advised by an ex-Intel employee. He said, look, talk about safety, because I really love safety in Intel. I said, okay, I'll say that. So when the interview came along, what do you think about safety? I think it's the business. I think we have to have safety, and I got the job. There we go. What I didn't realize was that Intel was really, really serious about safety. Lots of reasons for it. But what I hark back to is that Intel's insistence on safety, I think, changed the face of safety in the construction industry in Ireland. I think most of you who were part of that journey would probably agree with me. It was a significant intervention into the system, and here we are 23 years later, we are running world-class safety levels. We are leading the industries in construction safety. What a great legacy. If we never did anything else, how good that is, okay? So that's kind of a something that tells me we can make an intervention and we can make a difference. So another little segue. I became part of the manufacturing industry, and I suppose in the late 80s we began talking about MRP, materials requirements planning. What a revolutionary idea. You figure out what you need to build stuff, you figure out how much of it you have, and you should be able to build it. Everything's hunky-dory. Imagine it was 1980s, we began to learn how to do that. Then, of course, we began to computerize it. So it was all about bills of materials and inventory accuracy. And the industry moved on. We got good at it. The next evolution was JIT. And I remember articles about Dell, who set up in Limerick, and had thousands of people there. And the revolutionary idea was that they got the stuff just in time. Wow. Why is all that important or relevant to this conversation? I think you may talk to it, John, but the evolution of the manufacturing industry over the last 30 years that I've been involved in it, and over the 50 or 60 years that we have data for, has been spectacular. The productivity improvements have been spectacular. And I contrasted with the industry that we're predominantly involved in now, which is construction here. This conversation is about construction predominantly. We've flatlined at best. So for 50 years, we have done this in terms of getting better. So that's sobering thought. That's one of the reasons I'm here. I'm guessing it's one of the reasons you all are here. And we can make a difference in the very same way that Intel made a difference in safety. And all of you we collectively made a difference in safety because Intel had the idea. We didn't know how to build anything safely. We didn't know how to build anything. So we all collectively worked together. We evolved a process and systems that are world-class and that hopefully keep most of us in the same shape going home as when we went to work. And that's why I think, one of the reasons why I think we can now shape the industry again. We can lead the industry. We collectively in this room can make a huge difference. I'll give you another perspective as to why I think it's possible. I spent 20 of my 25 years in Intel not in construction. So I was doing other stuff. I was building widgets. And for 17 of those years, I was convinced, and I convinced everybody who asked me, and I tried to convince anybody who argued with me, that there was only so fast, we can only move at a certain pace. It was not possible. There just was no way. And the way we measured progress or speed to the line was a thing called whip turns. It doesn't matter how it's calculated, but it's a measure of how long it takes from stuff at the start of the line to when you get stuff out at the end of the line. We measured our durations in months. So in the same way as MRP became fashionable and JIT, suddenly Kaizen became fashionable. We began learning about what Toyota did. We began reading some books, began to train ourselves. And then we were told that you had to get faster, really, really faster. And who was up front of the line saying you couldn't be done? It was me. Could not be done. We've proven it, we've graphs, we've charts, we've analyzed it. It just can't be done because it's so difficult. And it's so variable, and the machines are so complex, and the widgets are so small. It just can't be done. But we persevered, and we kept at it, and we kept our heads down. And for a year, I used to go into the fab, and I would try to implement a part of the 5 S's. So have things in their place, and a place for everything. And it took me a year to get most people to agree with me that that's where that thing should be, and if it's there, it's in the wrong place. And that was my sort of, it took me, I was questioning as to why it took me so long to get that over. And it's because we hadn't really done enough training and education. We didn't really know where we were going. But suddenly we began to get a bit of momentum. We didn't change the people. We didn't buy any more equipment. We didn't change the end product. The transistor we were making at the start of this glorious experiment was exactly the same. In fact, it was a better transistor than at the end. And what did we do? We simply looked at what the processes we had in place. So we established what we were doing today. We established a benchmark for a standard for what we were doing today. And we incrementally began to try and change those standards. And incrementally we did. And for months, nothing really major happened. We began to have week-long sessions where we did value stream mapping and we did Kaizens. And I'd get reports back saying, well, we really cracked it today. We got this PM from 4 hours to 3 hours, and we got this PM from 6 hours to 5 hours, and we can do it with 3 people, not 2. And it was all beginning to sound the same until suddenly the indicators that I tracked every day suddenly began to get better. And then magic just started to happen. And it was the most magical time in my career, and it made work so much more different. Instead of coming into work dreading what the reports were telling me and how we screwed up yet again, I was dying to get into work to find out what else had we improved. And almost daily, perceptibly, the line began to speed up. Now remember, we didn't change the people, we didn't change the equipment, we didn't change the end product. We just changed how we were doing stuff. And manufacturing worked with engineering, and engineering worked with shipping, and shipping worked with TD, and everybody began to get a bit of the action, and we got better and better and better. The net result, quite a long story short, we went from counting our lead time from start of the line to the end of the line from months to weeks. And we did that over the course of 2 years. The company now has proceeded and has doing ever more complex technologies in the same time frames. So we have gone, probably since the start of this experiment, a 6x improvement. And I know Jim and the guys here laugh at me when I say 4x is easy, and 2x should have done it tomorrow, and we're still struggling to get to 1x. It's our dirty little secret, but we're going to get there. So listen, that's my hook into here. 1980s, Intel did a thing on safety with you all. We began to make a difference, and it's a difference today. I know from experience, I can see magic happen, and I see all the elements of what made magic happen for us in the manufacturing world. I see it in abundance in what we're trying to do here. So I'm really excited that this is a start of a noble new experiment, and I can't wait to start coming into work and finding out all the good things we did rather than, uh-oh, not again. So that's my story, that's my owner's perspective. I'll immediately transfer you over to John. John Pemberton has somewhat similar experience to me, a little bit longer, but he spent most of his career in the manufacturing world. The last 5 years, he's been leading his noble battle in trying to change how we do construction, trying to move the needle on how construction gets done worldwide. But we know we can't do it without folks like you in the room. So without further ado, John Pemberton. Thank you.